Good afternoon, everyone. Carousel would like to welcome you to our Clear Skye webinar, Identity Governance on the Now Platform. Before we get started, I would like to go over a few housekeeping items. Please note that all of your lines have been muted to reduce any kind of background noise, but if you would like to ask a question throughout the presentation, please feel free to do so using the Q&A pod at the bottom of your screen. We will set aside time at the end of the presentation to host Q&A, and our speakers will answer your questions over the line. If we are unable to get to your question, our ServiceNow team at Caresoft will follow up with you offline. This webinar is being recorded, and a link will be sent out in a follow-up email for you to view it again or share with a colleague. Before I introduce today's speakers, I'd like to tell you a little bit about Caresoft. Caresoft Technology is a trusted government IT solutions provider, delivering software and support solutions to federal, state, and local agencies. Caresoft maintains dedicated teams to support sales and marketing for all its vendors, including Clear Skye. Our contact information will be displayed at the end of the presentation, so please don't hesitate to reach out. At this time, I would like to introduce our speakers for today, Louise Almeida, CRO of Clear Skye, and Sean Kuntz, VP Solution Consulting, Clear Skye. Louise and Sean, the floor is all yours.
Thank you very much, Kirsten. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you today. As Kirsten mentioned, I'm Luis Almeida. I'm Chief Revenue Officer for Clear Skye. And today what we'll be discussing is identity governance on the Now Platform. And with me today is Sean Kuntz, our VP of Solution Consulting. And I'll give him just a second here to share his screen. Here we go.
There we go. Thank you, Luis.
You got it, Sean. Thank you. So today what we want to touch on is a little bit about Clear Skye, our capabilities, the benefits of the solution. We'll talk a little bit about what the identity governance and administration space is, touch on some challenges that are unique to state, local, federal government agencies, and Sean will then provide you with a overview of the solution via screenshots. So first of all, what's identity governance and administration? And forgive me if this is something you already know, but it's always good to level set. There's always a bit of confusion in the industry about what is identity and access management and what different products do. Well, we are a subset of identity and access management called IGA, or Identity Governance and Administration. And IGA fundamentally has two value propositions. The first one is governance, and the second one is IT optimization. The governance side of IGA gives you visibility across the enterprise into who has access to what. So you can see what users have access to down to the entitlement or resource level within the applications. Once you know what everybody has access to, you also can do access request and access reviews. And the access review component is critical to complying with certain regulations such as SOX and others, right? Periodically, you have to go in and do user revalidation, user recertification. The other main bucket of value comes from IT optimization, or the actual automation of provisioning of accounts. And this is where, based on someone's role or function, as they're hired and entered into an HR system, IGA tools will create or provision their access to target applications in order to make that onboarding process more smooth, more efficient, and all in all, the whole company can become more productive. Those are the traditional value propositions. But if you think about it, both value props have to do with user experience, right? Whether you're requesting access or you're reviewing access, or you're starting a job, that has to do with how you experience work and ServiceNow, which is the platform that we're built on, really is all about making work better or making the user experience better for their employees and customers. And that's fundamental of digital transformation. And that takes us to the next slide, which is all about the benefits of the solution and the benefits of being on the ServiceNow platform. So IGA, it has four main components, right? If you think about it, you have to request the access. When you request the access, a workflow approval is created or started a process. And then once that process is completed, you're either granted or provisioned the access or not. So the access request, review, and workflow processes are core to the ServiceNow platform. Since we are built on Now, leveraging their platform as a service to build our product, our access request system is their service portal. Our workflow approval management system is their workflow approval management system. So what happens is that employees or companies or organizations that are investing in ServiceNow for user experience can now extend that user experience into identity governance or identity and access management. And on top of that core functionality, we have layered identity critical functions such as identity analytics, role-based provisioning, segregation of duties, etc. So we've enhanced the platform so that it can carry out IGA functions. So how did this happen, right? Because these spaces are quite separate. The IGA space has for a long time now been integrating with ServiceNow, primarily from an ITSM perspective. But the reason we were able to create this product natively inside of ServiceNow is because our founders have extensive ServiceNow background. They're ServiceNow developers. And a few years ago, identity and access management experts, veterans that had been in the space for a long time, encountered them and decided, well, this is exactly what the industry needs. This is much better than just a loose integration with ITSM, because what we're doing is we're actually moving identity information up onto the platform. Once you put that identity information on the platform, it sits adjacent to other ServiceNow processes beyond ITSM, such as the CMDBs right there. Companies that are using ServiceNow for GRC, or what they call integrated risk management, we can interact and are natively integrated with those processes. So we view this as a fundamental step forward in digital transformation for organizations that are viewing ServiceNow as a core component of that digital transformation process. As a company, we've been around for 4 years, but it's only relatively a little while ago, about 8-9 months ago, that we've come out of stealth, really gone to market, established partnerships with Carosoft, for instance, and are making the product more generally and widely available. And before we get started into the meat of the presentation, it'd be really helpful to us if you could take a second to complete this poll. First of all, do you have IGA challenges? We're going to assume you do. Are one of these four things more of a challenge for you than the others? If you could fill that out for us, we'd greatly appreciate it. And that concludes my portion of the presentation. And with that, we'll get to the interesting part as I hand over to Sean Coons. Sean?
Yeah, thank you, Luis. And I'll just defer to the Carosoft team on the poll. Let me know when we want to proceed, but let me go ahead and, do we have our results in? You know, it's kind of feels like Family Feud.
I think we have all of our results. Oh, just kidding. A few more are coming in.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'm really interested to see what, you know, we could place bets, but all of these are really things that I've encountered over my time in identity management. These are all things that have been challenging for clients.
It seems like the biggest IGA challenge that people are having is cost maintenance. followed
Yeah.
by business processes and workflow, and then the last being finding skilled personnel to manage.
Well, that's great because we can help with all of those with our approach. So thanks. So the poll is off. Let me. My name is Sean Kuntz, VP of Solution Consulting. Hopefully that intro from Luis and the orientation helps. I'm going to walk you through a little bit more, closer look at the solution. But before we go there, what I want to really, because we find this a lot as we go out and we talk to clients, is there's just a general education about, well, what does it mean to have IGA on ServiceNow? Because a lot of people think that ServiceNow is just a ticketing solution. So what I want to build out here for you is kind of a little bit of a walk down memory lane as well in terms of the history of IGA. And when you think about IGA, and I've been in it, like I said, 17 years, so I've been in it from the beginning. It continuously is evolving. And the one thing in my first experience with IGA is we had to build a lot of these building blocks, as I call them, in order to deliver IGA value. And let me just build this slide out here. In order to deliver IGA value, there's a whole bunch of dependencies. There's a whole bunch of infrastructure and building blocks you have to build. You can't get around it. You've got to figure out, well, we're a web app. Okay. Are we going to deploy are we going to use MySQL? Are we going to deploy in Tomcat? That application server, database, operating system. These are all things you have to deal with. Traditionally with IGA, you had to build this stuff out. You had to figure it out. Your engineering team had to design it. We had to build out a workflow engine, a reporting engine. These were all building blocks. And then once we got those building blocks, end user portal, admin interface, very important, then we could focus on what I call real IGA innovation. Access requests, access reviews, IGA business processes, create identity, update identity, desired state models. I can't do governance-based provisioning if I don't have a desired state model or a role model, the entitlement warehouse, connectivity, and integrations. So now let's kind of take a step forward. Now that traditional IGA stack, it's still out there today, and it can be hosted in the cloud. And we know there's a lot of companies that are doing that. They're taking that, really great stack and they're putting it in the cloud, and it's available to consume that way. But they still got to maintain all these layers. So let's take the next step. So as cloud got really important, and people said, this is great, but I don't want on-premise anymore. I need a cloud-first solution for my IGA. Well, the vendors got smart and they said, well, let's leverage AWS and let's start to build a solution on top of that cloud platform. Well, IaaS, or infrastructure as a service, it's giving you a lot of great value. It's giving you the ability to spin up environments and Kubernetes and containers and all that. And you can really automate the infrastructure, but you still have to build out these other pieces, right? Because you're not really on a platform, you're building an identity solution on an infrastructure as a service. So now let's go to the next step here. And that's IGA on PaaS, platform as a service. And if you look at IGA on PaaS, which is what the Clear Skye solution is, we're on a true platform as a service. So ServiceNow and the Now platform is providing all of those things that are in green there. We get an end user portal. We get an end user portal that your employees, contractors are already using, right? Because ServiceNow is already in the environment. And so we just embed natively into that. You're getting the first-class enterprise-grade workflow engine. You're getting all those other building blocks, forms engine, and so forth. They're all being provided as part of the platform. So then at Clear Skye, we get to focus 100%. We configure those pieces, and then we innovate on top of that platform, and we bring connectivity and entitlement and desired state model.
And
so that's, yeah.
If I could interject, Sean, what I'll say is that what this means to the person managing a program really translates to that. Can we go back one? Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
It's
yeah.
okay. It really translates into that cost of maintenance, right? So first of all, what you see there in green and even above green, those are ServiceNow functions. So if your organization's already invested in the ServiceNow platform, the people administering our IGA solution are going to be ServiceNow folks, and there's no additional cost in training. There's no new technology. So this is really, it allows us to focus on what's important, but it significantly reduces the cost of maintenance of the solution. Back to you.
Yeah, thank you, Luis. And that's a great segue because, yeah, the reoccurring theme here will be scale, right? How can I get IGA at scale, delivered from the cloud, and sitting alongside all my other IT processes? And so that's a great segue to this slide here, because really, I know we're addressing a public sector audience, federal sector. And there's some things here we want to touch on before we get a little bit deeper into the product and show you some of the capability. So with the federal agencies, right, in public sector, there's some additional unique challenges. There's a lot of more and older systems, right? We all know that government and public sector, they have a lot of legacy systems. They need to connect to them still. They need to pull that access in. They need to review it. They need to support it. Well, how do you address that? Well, we believe if you're built on now, you're uniquely positioned to address that because, as we all know, ServiceNow is a ticketing solution or a service desk solution or an ITSM solution. And a lot of these legacy systems, you're never going to connect to them directly. So you need to be really tightly coupled with an automated or integrated ticketing system, right? So that I can open up manual tasks to do fulfillment. So because we're an IGA system native on the Now platform, that just becomes very natural. So we can pull in the access from the legacy systems. We can support requesting access against those legacy systems. And because there's no direct connect to them, we can just easily open up or create that task within ServiceNow because we're already on ServiceNow. There's no integration required to do that. So it's a unique position to be in to support the federal agencies that are facing that challenge with older systems and legacy systems. The next thing is you have a higher dependency on contractors. A very transitory workforce. And this is not only the contractors that are helping you implement, to support your federal and public sector customers, but the people that are working at those agencies. Well, when you're built on Now, there's going to be a higher degree of possibility or probability that somebody's already familiar with ServiceNow. ServiceNow is, let's face it, they're a 4 billion plus company. They're doing 20 billion transactions a month. They're huge, right? And so we're kind of on that the shoulders of giants there, and the likelihood that you're either your contractor that you want to use to help implement your IGA solution, or the person who's coming into your entity or your organization to interact with your solution, they're going to be already experienced and familiar with ServiceNow. There's not a different interface to have to learn. Lastly, is the standards, right? We all know with federal and public sector, there's a whole nother level of standards that have to be that are requirements for implementing and for selection of a vendor. So Clear Skye is on the ServiceNow platform. ServiceNow has a huge dedicated team who's already made great progress with supporting FedRAMP, supporting the DoD Impact Level 4 authorization, as you can see on the screen. This is about scale. This is about on the shoulder of a giant, right? Because ServiceNow is already in this area. They're making sure their platform is going to be suitable and secure and reliable and have a high level of availability to support the stringent requirements of federal and public sector. So we get to ride on top of that, right? These certifications, and there's a lot more, and this is just 2 of them, they're already in place. ServiceNow is dedicated to making sure those stay in place, and so we get to benefit from that being an application on the platform. Okay, let's keep going. So let's now get into really Clear Skye. That was a little bit of background on what does it mean to be an application on ServiceNow? What are the benefits for the public sector? Now I want to get specifically into the product. So Clear Skye is a scoped application. So you can see in the screenshot, we are available in the store, and you go to the store and you can find us, and we're built on Now. And I want to highlight that. This is a very important designation. This is a recent thing that ServiceNow came out with. You have certified applications in the store, but built on Now is designated for only applications that are 100% natively on the Now platform. There's no external in runtime. There's no external repository. I don't have to worry about, well, what if that system goes down? Then my users who log into ServiceNow to try to access that environment through some kind of integration, they're not going to get anywhere because that external system is down. Our runtime, our user experience is 100% built on Now and available in the ServiceNow runtime. So that's that built on Now designation. It's unique for those applications that meet those requirements. So one thing my apologies, let me back up. When you request the application, because we're on a platform, the beauty of that is the ease of deployment, installation. So you request the application, and once you're installed, we show up within ServiceNow as a scoped application. So you can see in the screenshot, you can see Clear Skye, our whole administrative interface is available within the ServiceNow UI. You can see we have our own UI as well that we present within the ServiceNow application or platform. And so we're basically a scoped application. We're available to be configured. Our whole database, our whole runtime is all running within your ServiceNow instance. So let's look a little bit at architecture. So a lot of people will ask, well, what about, how are you going to access my on-premise systems? How are you going to be able to control them and so forth? Well, we're leveraging ServiceNow's mid-server architecture. And this is a firewall-friendly, outbound-only architecture. A lot of IGA solutions, they require something like this to be able to get to those on-premise systems. And we leverage ServiceNow's mid-server architecture. So this is being used not just by our IGA solution, or not just by Clear Skye, but they're using it across all the other integrations where they're bringing data into ServiceNow for CMDB, where they're doing discovery and so forth, whatever it might be. That mid-server architecture is already going to be probably deployed and very familiar when you deploy Clear Skye within a ServiceNow environment. We can also connect to cloud applications. So we don't have to go through that mid-server architecture. We can go directly to the cloud because we are in the cloud, right? We're running within ServiceNow, which is already in the cloud and deployed as a SaaS offering. So this gives you a little insight into our connectivity and the architecture. We can connect to on-premise systems as well as cloud systems, and we leverage standard-based protocols like JDBC, PowerShell, REST, and so forth. So we're excited about where we're going with that as well, because ServiceNow is also providing ways to connect to systems where we're looking to piggyback on that as well, which is the integration hub. So there's a lot of opportunity for us to once again leverage what ServiceNow is doing and then bring that IGA context and that identity context to that approach. So this is an example of the service portal, or a screenshot, if you will. And this is where Clear Skye has been deployed. And you can see up here we have access reviews. One of the biggest things that we hear from clients, they say, well, we've got an IGA solution, but we got to send our users to a different portal or a different interface to do access reviews, or we got to send them over there to do approvals. Well, with ServiceNow and with Clear Skye being native on ServiceNow, we get to unify that user experience. So the service portal is where we plug in, and we allow, as you can see in the screenshot, I can log in and I can see if access reviews I might have to do. I can see any requests that I've made, and I can track those requests. I can request access. And when I click on request access, Clear Skye's catalog is available to support IGA related requests. So I can request a new account. I can request to manage entitlements. I can request access. And I can also have tailored request widgets. And this is an example here with the ABC company. The point here is we're leveraging the ServiceNow service portal, which is incredibly extensible. So we expect our clients to say, hey, I want to request access a certain way, and they can do that. They can create the right form, and then they can plug that into the Clear Skye automation engine to support provisioning and governance. Let me keep going. So one of the things, and I'm being mindful of time here, I know we're getting short, the foundation of an IGA solution is to have an identity warehouse. And so this slide here is showing that we've built that out. We've thought about it very thoroughly. We've also introduced what we think is an innovation in this area. So you can see in this slide, I've got my identity. He has accounts. Those accounts have access, but I can also track all the requests. I can track maybe from CMDB. I can gain insights in the computers that user might have. But the thing I want to highlight here is the profiles. So one of the things we thought about was, what about somebody who has multiple personas? So I'm a professor at a university, but I'm also a doctor in the university hospital. And this is a tough problem. It's been around a while, and it's really tough and exacerbated when you attach access to the identity directly. What we've done at Clear Skye is we've introduced the notion of a profile. So we don't attach access and accounts to the identity, we attach it to the profile. And through that level of indirection, we unlock the power to be able to support the multiple persona problem. So we're really excited about that. We feel it's kind of an example of where we get to take a fresh approach to IGA, and we get to introduce some innovation and solve some of the problems that have been in the industry for a while. The next thing I want to point out here is compliance. Any IGA solution wouldn't be worth its salt if it didn't have a way to recertify access. And so because we have the identity warehouse, we have a snapshot, and we have our connectors, and we're aggregating access. We have that point in time, who's got access to what. And based on that, we can then proceed to automated access review. So you're seeing here a screenshot of our access review dashboard. So we have configurations, which are templates that then drive review campaigns. And then from those review campaigns, we can kick those off and trigger active reviews that need to be recertified. And then that goes to the end user. But this is a great example of how we're leveraging ServiceNow's reporting and dashboards and analytics to create really powerful, actionable dashboards that support the business and support the compliance team and bring more value to your IGA efforts. If I click next here, the thing to highlight here is that when we generate a certification, we don't just send out emails and it goes to everybody. The certification is staged, and that's very important. It allows the compliance team to look at it, make sure it looks good before they approve it. And once they approve it, then we generate the access reviews, and the end users will be notified, and they'll go in and start doing their reviews. And they'll do that through the service portal, which is a very natural way if they're already accustomed to ServiceNow, and you'll see that in the next screenshot. So here, this is the review that someone will get. They'd get a notification, they'd log in to the service portal, their access review would be right there. They can make their decisions about access, whether to remove or whether to keep it. They get progress updates and so forth. And all this is being audited and available by the compliance team to be viewing on the back end from an overall governance approach to make sure, okay, is the review moving forward? Are we getting completion? And of course, we leverage ServiceNow's SLA capabilities to do reminders and escalations. So it's just another example where we leverage that platform. All right. Lastly, this is really a key point here. I've seen a lot of IGA implementations, and every single one of them has always had some kind of integration with ITSM. There's always that disconnected system. You know, we're not going to deprovision that access directly. We're going to open a ticket. Well, if we're on ServiceNow, so we're on arguably the world's foremost ITSM solution. So we get to natively integrate and embed ourselves into that service desk experience. So you can see here, we've got an identity management submenu, and these are requests to remove access that came from a review. You can see there's a full chain of custody audit trail. So we see that these requests to remove access are tied to a parent object, which is the review. And so one thing that ServiceNow does really well, which we're leveraging, is really creating that trail, that audit trail of what is happening where. And so instead of an external IGA system opening a ticket, and then I've got to go to 2 different places, try to figure out what's going on. Is it closed? Is it not closed? What's the status? It's all there in one place. All right, lastly, and I'll try to wrap it up here quickly. Another really key principle of IGA is I can do desired state or birthright provisioning. So I have to have some way to model desired access. So we've done that with what we call access policies. And in this example here, you can see we've defined an access policy for San Francisco office. We have a really powerful feature, once again, leveraging the Now platform. We can target specific populations. We can search for folks based on location, based on department, based on all the attributes and all the data that is collectively there in that shared data model that we're running on the ServiceNow platform. And then based on that policy and that population of people, we can associate access. So I can associate specific access. So, I want this person to be, or if they match the policy, they get these production AD group memberships, and they maybe need some access to some physical security, which will kick off a manual task. But over here in entitlement groups, which is another name for roles, we can also associate bundles of access or roles that we've defined as well. So we get to bring those 2 worlds together, fine-grained access, role-based access, and put that into an access policy that drives birthright provisioning. And let me just hit next here. This is really about something that's coming in our next release, but we're excited about. One thing that everybody who's been in IGA for a while is familiar with is the fatigue of app onboarding. And so what we're delivering as part of the service catalog and that natural business experience is the ability to onboard applications. We're calling it Access Catalog, but in the screenshot here, you might be able to see it. I'm defining an application called Finance, and that's composed of some group memberships in AD. So we're letting the business define these notions of application access or logical applications, and then we're letting them define the approvals that they want. So this is giving the business the ability to do what they need to do versus IT being, and the IGA team being the bottleneck. So they can define this through ServiceNow. So they're using ServiceNow UI and everything to do this. And when they define the application they think is appropriate, they can submit it. It gets approved. And once it's approved, it's available in the service catalog to be requested. So we're really excited about this. Some things we're doing with Okta where we can consume the current Okta applications, and we can bring them into our marketplace or our catalog so they can be requestable. This is a really exciting feature that's coming out in our next release in a couple months. And the whole point here is to streamline application onboarding and really put the business in control, and do that on top of the ServiceNow platform where they're already doing all kinds of other IT services. All right, I think that is it. And you know, we're probably a couple minutes over, but should I turn it back over to you, Karasoft?
Yeah, so it looks like we're right at time. So I am going to put this slide up. I'd like to thank all of our participants as well as the Clear Skye team for being with us today. We hope this information you received during this webinar has been helpful. Everyone will receive a copy of the slides in the presentation. Please don't hesitate to call or email us with any questions. Thanks again and have a great day.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.